Today I want to give you a little bit of an update on my backyard. It's been 1 week since I completed that dethatching process last week and did some overseeding. Then I also want to share a few thoughts on why I don't put down starter fertilizer right away at the time of seeding when I do my overseeding. So I want to share a few thoughts on that. That's coming up. Alright, so we're on day number 8 now since I put down that seed after I did the dethatching, and I don't really see that I can see anything coming up too much yet. But we're in pretty much full spring mode here now as far as temperatures go. We kind of actually skipped the spring season and went straight to 80s coming up, I think, next week. But I want to show you kind of what's going on here. Here's an overall look at the backyard. And ever since I did that process, things have looked a little bit rough. And sometimes I do this to myself where I feel like I do something and then the grass really does not look very good for a little while, and I think, maybe I really should not have done that. But I think that we're just still in a little bit of stress mode right now, and I'm going to be giving it some fertilizer today, which I'm going to explain here in a minute. So it will recover from all of this. It's just I don't like when things don't look as good as I think they should look and instantly. So in case you're like me, you don't have a whole lot of patience, lawn care can be a little bit frustrating at times. Okay, so what I mean by full spring flush mode is you can kind of see here, you can just see here it's just growing like crazy in some of these areas. Now, I haven't fertilized any of this. I haven't done anything with it. It's just basically full spring mode. I think you should be able to see it on the camera here, so we can see left side there about halfway down the middle. I have not done anything with the side, and I also did not dethatch it. So you can see how much greener it is. And we move over to this side, and you can see it's kind of yellow, it's kind of patchy, it doesn't really look all that great. That's mainly just because of what we took out of there as far as thatch, and also just because it got kind of stressed out from doing that whole process. That's pretty much the quick version there of what's going on in the backyard about 8 days after I did that seeding and the dethatching and all that. If you want to check out that video, I will link to it so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. But let's talk a little bit about why I've delayed putting the starter fertilizer on until this point. So when I first started doing overseeding projects, I would lay down the starter fertilizer at that time of seeding, and what would happen is the existing grass would get that fertilizer. We're giving it water every day. It's kind of optimal conditions for it to grow. So all of a sudden it would just shoot up growth. It would go like crazy, and then all of the existing seed that's down in there, it's not growing quite as fast as all of the other grass around it, and I would really need to mow the existing grass because of how fast it was growing, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be out on the yard. So you kind of get the idea. I just found that if I would delay putting down the starter fertilizer a few days, if you're using something like perennial ryegrass or something that's fast, and I would normally wait till like the 3 or 4 day mark right before the seed would start to pop out, then I would put my starter fertilizer down. I'm using about the fastest Kentucky bluegrass variety that I think I could find, and I don't know exactly how many days it's going to take to come up. Since we're at 8, it could be 10, it could be a little bit more, and we didn't have a whole lot of space in there for that seed to fall down into anyway, so I don't expect it to like go crazy with the new variety because my existing grass was very thick, it was very established, and it's going to overtake most of that stuff anyway. But if some of it grows in there, that's kind of what I wanted. It's just a little bit of new variety. So the reason here now that I'm putting it on is we're at the 8 day mark. I'm hoping that any of that seed that might come up that's not out of the ground yet, it's not going to be overtaken by the existing grass. So if we put down the starter fertilizer now, it's also going to help with how stressed out the existing grass is. When that seed starts to pop up, if any of it comes out of the ground here in the next few days, it will have the nutrients that it needs, and the existing grass is not going to overtake it as quickly. So what am I using for starter fertilizer? Let me show you. Alright, here's the starter fertilizer that I'm using. This is the Lesco brand, and sometimes you can find it at Home Depot. I got this at Site 1, which there's a lot of Site 1 locations around the US, so if you just search for them, you can maybe find one in your area. They normally have this stuff at a pretty good price. covers 10,000 square feet, and I think it was around $27 or so, somewhere around 25 bucks. So that's pretty good, I think, as far as fertilizers go, but you can use any starter fertilizer that you can find. The most important part is that this middle number right here is going to be higher than this one or that one normally on a starter fertilizer. So the middle number is our phosphorus, and that is going to help our grass root system to build, and especially with new grass we need this because we need to build that root system so that it can withstand the stresses and any heat that we might get and lack of water and all that stuff that's going to happen to grass over time. So that's the reasoning. So you don't need to be too worried about these exact numbers and what they are. Just know that this middle number being a little higher is why that's called the starter fertilizer, usually is the phosphorus content. There's not a specific setting for my particular spreader on this actual bag, and I did some checking again on the website as well, and I couldn't find one for my particular Scott spreader, but there were some Scott's ones on there, and over my testing that I've done in the last couple years for my spreader, normally around a 5 or 6 is about what I have done on my spreader as far as the starter fertilizer goes. Now it would be best to calibrate your spreader. There's a ton of information on that if you do a search. I haven't done a video on it yet, but it's probably something I should do at some point. But if you're looking for just a general number and you have the spreader that I have, the pretty typical Scott's brand, then I believe I was around a 5 or a 6. So that's about what I'm doing for a setting. Also, what's going to activate this a little bit faster is getting some water on it after the fact. So if you look at our skies today, you can see that there's rain in the forecast supposed to be coming. That's kind of the reasoning why I'm putting it down today as well, so that I don't have to water it in. If you do water it in, that's going to help out a little bit too, to activate it just a little bit quicker. So many more updates to come on both this backyard and plenty of other things on my channel. I hope you'll check out some more videos. Thanks so much for watching this one. We'll see you next time.